You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new signature wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mix with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
And welcome to another episode of a wonderful podcast named He Said, She Said. I'm kind of rattled right now because we were talking before the podcast started. But with me tonight is my shifty co-host, Mickey Blowtorch.
Good evening. I am Mickey Blowtorch, and I'm coming at you live from Boyhood Fantasies of Lily Munster and Elvira. How are you tonight?
I was wondering where you were going to be coming from.
I had to keep it up on October.
Yeah. In the month of October now, you're going to have to, step up the game, buddy, because it's totally expected.
That's exactly what I was planning on. So my game will be stepping. Fret not.
Cool. Yeah. Well, before we get started, I do have an announcement to make. It was brought up in the chat that they were expecting an episode of Broadly Speaking, which was supposed to launch. But unfortunately, we've had to cancel that podcast due to unforeseen circumstances. Unfortunately, Annie Vodka is no longer able to have a full-time podcast gig. She is far too busy. There's too much going on in life. And so we decided to pull the plug on that one. And she will be, guest hosting from time to time in other podcasts and be her fun self because she's always fun. So regrettably, that podcast is not coming to fruition. So unfortunately, That's the sad news. The good news is that we're coming to you live tonight, finally. You're no longer camping.
So good.
So, and how are things with you?
Good. New Mexico, but it's way the hell up in the mountains. I mean, we were talking tall pines, thick forest. It was just absolutely gorgeous. Totally the break of society.
I've been to certain areas of New Mexico that are absolutely intensely beautiful. I've been to Sunspot because of the solar telescope. I think that is the only solar telescope in the United States. And I've also been to Cloudcroft. And
Cloudcroft is pretty.
Yeah, it's very commercial, but it's very pretty. And I went in the off season, so it was like a lot more calm. There were less people there, and it was really pretty. But yeah, it's a lot of people think New Mexico is just land of sand, but no, there's so many beautiful places in New Mexico.
There's some surprising places, and just like you thought, that's a misconception. And I live in West Texas, so it's nothing but sand out here. And the parts of New Mexico that I frequent are nothing but sand and badlands. So once in a while, we'll go camping. We'll go up to Rio Doso, is another beautiful area. This particular time, we went to a little mining town called Silver City. And I guess about 14 miles outside of town, up way the hell up in the mountains, there's the start of like the Gila National Forest, which is one of our national forests, national parks. Absolutely gorgeous. The terrain is just so different than the terrain 7 miles previously. It's so amazing how it just switches in the blink of an eye when you're on that little mountain trail.
It really is insane. I mean, it's one step to the next, and it just changes. It's really strange.
But
almost like it's a vortex.
An interesting talk. Exactly. Something interesting, though, about New Mexico, I guess they've relaxed their marijuana laws. So I think they've got medicinal right now. I don't believe recreational is legal, but just the medicinal part. And that has drawn in a very unsavory group of transients to the local areas. Up in the Silver City area. I used to go up there all the time. I had a client that was up there. So I would do at least a monthly visit to go make sure everything was going fine with the operation and whatnot. And so I hadn't been up there for several years, maybe 6 or 8 years, something like that. So this last time that we went, just last weekend, I could not believe the amount of all these hippie homeless vagrants that were everywhere around the town. I mean, we're talking like just these nasty, dirty drum circle looking motherfuckers. Not your typical homeless population that you're used to seeing. Like, I get the feeling that these people are this way on purpose. Like, it's their lifestyle, and then they live for it. And I kind of have the feeling that's kind of following the medicinal marijuana, which is kind of unfortunate because, in a perfect world, we'd like weed to be legal. But I just think that it attracts a very unsavory aspect along with it. And it's funny, the story continues a little bit further up into our campground. We camped up in the national park at a little campsite. I found kind of a site off the beaten path. So we were kind of away from the regular campsite, but there were these two like vagrant hippies that were camping maybe 500 yards from us. Right. And at first I thought they seemed okay. It was a man and a woman, younger, I guess. I'm guessing their 20s. And so the guy walked by our campsite the first day, and I said, good morning, blah, 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 blah. And he seemed okay, walked by us. And then when he was walking back to his campsite, I waved, he waved, and he kept talking to himself. And I was like, he's on the phone. Oh, okay. And then I looked down at my phone and my girl's phone and then my work phone. None of us had a signal on either of the three phones. So immediately I just thought, fuck. Psychopath camping right next to us, complete conversations with himself. I mean, he was switching into like a female falsetto answering himself. Fucking crazy. And
oh boy.
So that was that. And of course I pack like a motherfucker. I'm not going to go camping without backup. So I've got my carry. I carry pretty avidly. I probably need to do it more often, but I don't. But anyway, so obviously I was carrying during the camping trip, and I had it in the glove just because I thought, okay, I got time to get there from a bear. As soon as this motherfucker went through the campsite talking to himself, I strapped that bitch on. And so it doesn't even stop there. So the girl and I were talking, and I'm like, that motherfucker was talking to himself. And she said he was switching into a girl voice. I'm like, fuck yeah, shit ain't right. So anyway, we didn't know that he had a female companion with him. And that evening, I guess around almost 9 o'clock, which when you're camping in the woods, 9 o'clock at night, that's like fucking midnight. Anytime after like 7 p.m. when it's pitch black out there, you might as well just treat it as after midnight and don't approach anybody. These two motherfuckers hiked into my campsite in the middle of the fucking night.
Oh my God.
I almost gave them complimentary free holes. They just came up on us and scared the shit out of me. And so I'm like, hey, how's it going? And the woman was kind of leading the little expedition. And she started talking to us. And then she started asking questions about if I had jumper cables, but kind of beat around the bush, right? And made it kind of gave the appearance that she wanted me to go down to their campsite and jump them. And I said, not tonight. It's dark as shit. I'll be more than happy to do that in the morning for you when I can see what I'm doing. And she saw something because immediately her demeanor changed. I don't know what she saw. If she saw my military license plates or maybe she saw the bulge on my hip. But she immediately turned around and told her boyfriend or companion to head back down and got him out of the way. I just thought that was really abrupt and odd. So maybe 45 minutes after that initial contact, he hiked back up into the fucking campground and said, oh, Mr. Mickey, I just wanted to let you know we were able to get the car started. Like, motherfucker, if you've been dead for 3 days, how did you get your fucking car started, for one? For two, don't fucking come back up here and tell me that you got your car started because I don't give a shit. And you keep scaring me the fucking night. So after he went back down, I saw their car leave. They got up on the road and they left. And I thought, okay, maybe they just packed up and left. So what my feeling is they either wanted me down there to jump them legitimately, which I'm kind of iffy on since they got their own vehicle started, or they wanted to rob us. Either way, they went into town, and about an hour and a half later, they got back. And the very next day, they were wandering around the campsites just high as fuck. I'm guessing heroin because of their behavior. It was so erratic, not like your traditional food groups to doing drugs. It definitely wasn't LSD or weed or anything like that. They were just out of like zombies. And they were harassing the different campers, wandering in and out of campsites. It was obnoxious. I was so pissed off that I got my Karen pants on and I sent a nasty email to the Forest Service about their vagrant problem. So that was my vacation.
Your Karen pants.
I did a
awesome.
Karen email. I can't stand vagrant hippies. Come on. It's cool if you just do your thing and live and let live, but leave other motherfuckers alone. Nobody wants to see your bullshit. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. I've gotten lucky. I never had a run-in like that here in the States. I've had several in Puerto Rico. I had more than my share in Mexico.
Overseas, it's but when you're in a United States federal park, come on.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Rangers have all of the authority to make these people leave, especially if they're harassing. There's people with families. You know what's going to happen is one of these assholes is going to step up into a campsite that's got a dad and some kids, and the dad is not going to be very forgiving. And somebody's going to get a problem that I feel with this kind of behavior. It's not a fucking commune. Don't come here and pretend like this is a co-op. Go back to Seattle or Portland if that's the bullshit you want to do. The behavior towards it is just it made me mad, to be honest.
Well, I am surprised. I mean, did a park ranger come to ask them to leave or anything, or no?
No, I don't think they've got that much of a presence in the area. We didn't see any kind of fishing game or park rangers the entire time we were there. We spent the whole weekend.
Wow, I can't. To tell you the truth, I probably would have ended up needing bail money. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like, I'm a little too jumpy, if I'm out camping and then somebody, approaches me to jump their vehicle or something, my nature is such that I'm willing to help them out, and I take everything at face value. But like halfway through that point, I start questioning things, and then I revert to this whole the worst case scenario, and I try to act from that point of view. So it can't be pretty hairy for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't.
I'm female and Hispanic and Catholic. I'm not the most rational being on the planet. Okay, so I'm just saying.
Just sprinkle some salt over your shoulder. That'll take care of the superstition of the situation.
Maybe.
I'm the easiest person to get along with. I love to party, throw down, and I'll drink with just about anybody. If I immediately don't like you and want you away from me, something's fucked up.
Yeah, because you are the life of the party. I mean, seriously, when people come over to your house and sit out in the garage and you have tons of chairs for everybody, you're the life of the party.
Absolutely. So, but that was my adventure. I think we've got
kind of scary, which which is which I'll be honest, that's a good start to a scary movie.
Which is a good segue into our entire episode.
Yes, it is.
Scary movies. That was a terrible laugh. So I think what are we doing tonight? We're doing a top 5 apiece of movies that scared the shit out of us when we were children. And
and like I said prior to the podcast, we had to define what children was. So under 18, which is a good thing because up to the age of 10, I didn't really watch any movies. Because I was in Puerto Rico, we had 2 channels, and
that's right.
everything was in Spanish. So. Exactly.
You're watching the Boricua Captain Kirk.
Oh, he had a fabulous voice, let me tell you.
Mira.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Mira bones.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So,
alrighty.
Top 5 movies coming up that scared us as children. And the bottom half of the hour, we're going to do a top 5 of movies, horror movies that we love. And I'm just going to call them scary movies because I can't over-announce horror. So, I don't want it to sound like I'm saying horror. Scary movie.
Okay.
Scary. Okay, I'm going to give you greens. Why don't you tell me the first? And I didn't pick in any particular order, really.
Yeah, these are not in order.
The favorites are kind of in order, but not really. It's not important. So what's the first scary movie that you picked that scared the shit out of you as a child?
Okay, so I blame my mother for this. But the very first one is The Exorcist. And I was completely unprepared. My mom has this gift. She sits down to watch a movie, and if I'm crossing the den or if I'm going to the kitchen or whatever, she'll call me and say, hey, sit down and watch this with me. And of course, I can't say no because it's my mom. So one day she says, hey, come over and sit down and watch this with me. And I asked her what it was, and it was 3:00 in the afternoon. So I didn't think anything bad of it. And so it was The Exorcist. And to this day, I do not eat anything with peas in it. I don't eat any pea soup. I don't eat anything. Nothing. I mean, it's just no.
you know what's funny about
me.
I've got a list of, just facetiously talking about names for children if I ever had a kid. And Reagan was on my list for girls' names.
Mm-hmm. It's a good name.
I think Reagan would be great.
But Yeah, that movie scarred me. I was just like, and I couldn't leave because it was a very well directed film, for one. It kept you wanting to know what was coming next, what was going to happen, how was this going to be resolved, and everything. Now, for a Catholic, exorcism is something that we take very seriously, you know, and so my mom really wanted to watch this movie because she had seen it in Spanish, ironically, but she'd never seen it in English. So she kind of wanted to watch it just so that her English could improve as well. And I think this was maybe 1978. We've been here maybe 2 years.
What year did that come out?
Or something like that. 73, 74. I don't remember. Something like that. But yeah, so I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I am not sleeping tonight. And I was right. I did not sleep all night. I didn't sleep the following day or the following night. I crashed after 36, 38 hours of being constantly awake because I could not fall asleep. I was so scared. It petrified me. And I will say this, I only saw it that one time. I never revisited it again. It really it did a number in my psyche, let me tell you. So, how about you?
A funny story about The Exorcist real quick before that. My father's girlfriend has a sister, and she had a young son. And so he didn't really have any male role models in his life. So my dad and I kind of adopted him when he was young. And we would show him the ropes and, you know, let him come over and hang out and just do guy things, be around dudes. And so it was around Halloween one year. And I said, "Have you ever seen The Exorcist, buddy?" And he's like, "No, I've never seen The Exorcist." Like, all right, tonight we're going to watch The Exorcist. And it was close to Halloween. So I was on the couch. My pops was in his rocking chair or his recliner. And the kid was on the other little love seat. And I knocked out. And then my dad knocked out. And we just slept through the whole thing. And I woke up probably in the last 45 minutes. This poor little fucker was buried under a mountain of pillows with his hands over his eyes, just traumatized while we were sleeping through the whole movie.
That is not nice.
Classic.
That poor guy.
So on my top 5 movies, the first one that I picked that scared me as a child. Now, everything that traumatized me as a child, I blame my mother. My
my mom's totally under the bus on this.
She loved scary movies. My dad was always kind of the protector of the family unit, and they got divorced when I was 5. So after they got divorced, I lived with my mother. My mom just didn't give a shit anymore. She was going to watch whatever the hell she wanted to watch. So I saw a lot of shit early in life that just fucking traumatized me, to the point where I'm going to talk about a really fun family outing we had when I was probably about 6 or 7 years old, when she took me to the theater to see Poltergeist 3.
Oh, my God. That's on my list.
On the big screen. The one with Tom Skerritt and the little girl that I think she died of the flu. That was a big urban kind of a legend.
She actually had no, the little girl died of a complication from surgery. She actually suffered from a very rare ailment, I believe.
I always thought it was the flu.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was the flu, or it may have been triggered by the flu, but I'm pretty sure she had some kind of rare disease, if I recall.
Shame. I just remember that being associated with the movie. But that movie scared the shit out of me on the big screen when I'm like 6 years old. The little
Poltergeist,
small person that's the psychic lady walking through the house, and just everything that happened was some freaky ass shit. I couldn't go hide anywhere because I was stuck in a movie theater. Thanks a lot, Mom. I'm sure that's going to serve some therapy years later.
Poltergeist is actually on my list of movies that scared the living hell out of me. Because
at the theater,
it was the thought of a entity becoming attached to a child because of a location, a geographical location, that kind of gave me the weirdest vibe. And so, but the way they did the movie was really cool. And let me tell you something, that's the movie that made me distrust clowns completely.
What the number
I
one?
did the first one,
Yeah.
the first Poltergeist,
Nelson?
because yes, and so and it, and it's really funny because when that movie came out, Dominique Dune was just starting her career. She played the oldest kid. And tragically, she lost her life at the hands of her boyfriend, who was abusive and a stalker. And then, the little girl actually died as well. And I'm not sure what happened to the young boy that played the son, but that whole cast was touched in really, really weird ways so.
Shudder. Do you know what Shudder is? They're kind of like a Netflix, but they deal strictly with horror movies.
Horror movie. Yeah.
Free. It's not a free. It's a streaming service that you pay for, but it's really cool. I subscribed. Back in the 90s, they used to have this Monster Vision show on TNT, hosted by this dude named Joe Bob Briggs.
Yes, Joe Bob.
That was the coolest fucking show ever, and I watched it. I guess this was in my 14, 15-year-old kind of adolescent, teenager period of life. So I would stay up all night watching USA Up All Night, and then I'd watch the Monster Vision. Anyway, Shudder rebooted Monster Vision, and they have seasons of it now every year, and they do live screenings or live episodes on the little app. It's really fucking cool if you're into that.
Oh, that is awesome. I really should look into that. I like the old school horror better than I do the new stuff.
Yes.
So,
well, there's no horror movie that really sticks out in your head that's new. Everything that I go to is always like 1980s and earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just kind of like cookie cutter garbage. It's all the same shit over and over, and too much CGI, too much this, too much that. It just really doesn't. It doesn't capture the emotion and feeling anymore like it used to.
That is so true. So, okay, so I gave you 2, Exorcist and Poltergeist. What's your second one?
My second one, I picked All of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. So, after my mother divorced my dad, she remarried shortly thereafter, and I had all of a sudden teenage stepbrothers and stepsisters. And they watched all of these 80s scary movies all the fucking time. Nightmare on Elm Street's constantly on TV in that house. I hated every single second of it that I had to watch that shit. I will always hate Freddy Krueger.
Oh, man. I have a confession to make. I've never watched any of the Friday the 13th, any of the Nightmare on Elm Street, any of those. Never. I value my psyche, okay? If Exorcist is going to give me this big of an issue, I shudder to think what the other 2 are going to do. So I never watched them. But, my sisters did, and they told me, no, don't go watch them. Because they knew me, and but they loved them. They thought that they were great. They were fun. They made you, But they're adrenaline addicts. They love the rush. So for them, it was great. Me, adrenaline kick actually hurts me. It's physical pain for me. So I tend to avoid it. So.
Yeah, I get those little spikes too that hurt, like on the surface of your skin.
I get that, and then I get it deep in right under my diaphragm. It really hurts. It's like a stabbing pain.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. But yeah, so I never saw them, but I heard that they were terrifying. And I mean, I think one of my girlfriends from high school, boyfriend went to see when it premiered, the first one, and they ended up breaking up because she was pissed off at him because it was supposed to be a date. It was supposed to be romantic, and they went to see this movie, and she never forgave him for that. I don't think they're even speaking to each other still. Yeah, she carries a grudge. So
that entire genre of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, the Halloweens, and the Friday the 13th, never was a big fan of those. I didn't like the slasher stuff. Always been more drawn to the paranormal realm of that. Serial killers never really scared me. Yeah, some dudes running around with a chainsaw. Okay. Show me what's special about that. Nothing really. I mean, Friday the 13th kind of, they're great movies for the nostalgia of it. I'll still watch them when they're on TV. I think their greatest contribution to cinematography is probably the Halloween movies with PJ Souls always showing her titties. That is probably one redeeming factor of all of those movies. PJ Souls' titties, and that's my argument from the '80s slasher genre.
Well, that was my third pick was Halloween because my mom also made me sit down and watch that, and to this day I have not forgiven her for that. But it was really cool. The one thing that I liked about the whole entire movie was that it did not end happily ever after. And none of John Carpenter's movies do. Okay? They always end bad. So for me, that was more realistic, which is why it was so terrifying. And I thought that was kind of cool. In retrospect, I think it was a really good movie. But back then, I did not want to, my God, I boycotted Halloween, the day of Halloween for about 2 years. I just couldn't deal with it.
When movies like the John Carpenter movies take away that warm fuzzy that you expect at the end of a movie, that is a game changer for the psyche when you walk out of that movie. It's up there with like not sneezing or orgasm denial and all of that. When you don't have the warm fuzzy from the scary movie, you kind of walk out not fulfilled, and it keeps the creepiness going, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why the next film that I have on my list is possibly, in my opinion, the best thing that John Carpenter ever did, and that's The Thing.
Ooh.
To this day, Mickey, I have to, if I watch that movie, every single fucking light in the house is on. Every single one. Even turn on a night light when I go to bed. And I make sure that, am I wearing metal? I will put my earrings on just to make sure that I'm not one of them. So it's just like, I know it really freaks, to this day, it freaks me out. This movie came out in 81, something like that.
I thought it was 70s.
So I know I was pretty sure it was like at the start of the 80s, but I'm not sure. But
you're right.
Yes.
Well, Kurt Russell,
yes,
coolest motherfuckers ever.
Yes, MacReady, his portrayal of MacReady was so good. And Childs, who was played by Keith David, they're the last two that survive this thing. After MacReady blows up. Yeah, but I mean, this is everybody misses. But the thing is, like I said, every single one of John Carpenter's movies ends badly. And you know what? The first time that I saw this, I was like waiting for it to end badly, and it didn't. And it wasn't until the third time that I watched it. Yes, this is one of those movies that scares the shit out of me, but I'll watch again, like I said, with all the lights on. The third time I got it, and it was the very end where MacReady is talking to Childs, and his breath is fogging, but Childs' breath is not. And that freaked me out. That completely freaked me out. So that's you're gonna have to watch that again because it's
awesome movie.
At the very end.
And
it is.
Russell he's a man's man. You want to be fucking Kurt Russell. He's so fucking cool. So
I would love to be fucking Kurt Russell. Okay. Aggie needs to take a break right now.
Yeah, that sounds like a good jumping off point. When we come back, I'll go into my number 4 and number 5. In the meantime, enjoy some commercials on the house.
As a small business owner, you deserve more. More confidence, more connectivity, more of the tools that help your business thrive. And at Cox Business, you can expect more from us. We don't just have sales reps. We have perfect plan identifiers. People who will work with you to make sure your business gets everything it needs and nothing that it doesn't. Your business deserves more, and that's why you can expect more from Cox Business. Call 800-526-8572 to switch today.
There's nothing more predictable in life than the unexpected. Lightning will always strike. Hail will fall on roofs. Fortunately, there's AAA. AAA has been helping members stay prepared for over 100 years. So when unusual storms, fallen debris, or sudden leaks happen, you'll be covered. Check, check, and check. Get the home and auto insurance you need by talking with a AAA insurance agent today. Visit AAA.com/insurance or stop by your local AAA store.
If you prefer real mornings, shouldn't you have a real breakfast? At McDonald's, we get real about breakfast. That's why you can have a savory sausage biscuit with delicious hash browns for only $1.50. It's time to wake up breakfast. Single item at regular price. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or
And we are back after the rather hilarious Aggie joke there. I made my co-host proud, and I that's a bullet for me. So this is great.
That's my girl.
All right.
Just to recap after the break of free commercials. You're welcome, America. Your last movie was The Thing. Was that your number 4?
Yeah, that was my number 4. So you're up for number 4.
Cool. I actually named it my number 2 because I went backwards. Yeah, I guess we're a little off on that, aren't we? Just kidding. So my number 4, number 2. I saw this movie when I was about, maybe I was 8 or 9. It's not your traditional horror movie. It's a little bit of a science fiction movie and allegedly based on a true story. It's a movie called Communion that starred Christopher Walken and was about this guy named Whitley Schreiber's alleged alien abduction experiences. So I went into this movie, I think we ordered pizza and rented it, whatever. So I was already like 9 or 10, around that area, where I could definitely comprehend everything that's going on in a movie. So I totally understood this movie to a point, but it just scared the living shit out of me. I don't know what it was. I'd never seen subject matter like this in a scary movie before. So it really just hit me on this super creepy, scary, fearful vibe to the point where I would say until I was about 13 years old, I had to sleep with a lamp on in my room every single night. Nothing scared me more than this particular movie. Just the plot, everything about it, the medical experimentation from aliens, it just scared me like you would not believe. And that really scarred me. To this day, I still get a little creeped out when I see alien shit on TV if I'm by myself. And sometimes I'll keep walking if it's on a particular channel. But, man, this thing fucked my head right up. And I did not sleep good for years.
Oh, man. I don't think I've seen that movie in years. I think the last time I saw it was still the 20th century.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not really a mainstream movie.
No, it's not mainstream, but it was pretty cool. The concept was really neat.
The concept was cool. When I got a little bit older in life, I actually read the book by the guy. And another movie that was real similar that I saw, I guess, when I was maybe like 12 or 13 was Fire in the Sky. About a dude that got abducted in Arizona up in White Mountains outside of Snowflake. And I've actually been camping up in the White Mountains years later, but that movie scared the shit out of me too. I don't know what it is. Abduction just freaks me the fuck out and I want nothing to do with it.
I remember when that movie came out, I was working at a video store. It was actually a video store chain for selling movies, not renting them. And I remember getting the promo for it and everything. And usually the promos, are like maybe 15 minutes long or something. This one was actually a screener. And so we took turns taking it home to watch. And I mean, it was really cool. First of all, D.B. Sweeney was in it and he was adorable. So of course I had to watch it. But
chilling on that motorcycle.
Yes.
What video store did you work at?
I used to work at it was a part of the Musicland group, and it was called Suncoast Motion Picture Company.
Oh, I remember. We talked about that.
You remember? Yeah.
When I was in my wee 20s, I worked when I very first got out of the military. It was really hard to find a job not being bilingual in El Paso. And my military career really didn't transition into civilian life because I worked intelligence. So one of the very first jobs I got while I was waiting for something federal to come through was at Hollywood Video. Worst time of my entire fucking life. I made it about like 6 months, and eventually I was like, fuck this, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I quit. Not going to deal with this bullshit anymore. So, kind of got that thing going. You and I, video stores.
Yeah. Although my experience, I think, was a little better than yours, but
yeah,
probably not by much.
Store.
So.
I miss those stores.
Yeah, they were fun. I mean, I even missed Blockbuster. It had that certain
je ne sais quoi.
Yes, the scent of
smell. It smelled. It smelled the smell of the plastic movies, the all of the snacks, everything. That was a Friday night. Very nostalgic.
Yep.
I worked at Hollywood Video, which was like a low rent Blockbuster, and we had worse customers, like the worst customers. I remember one night some dude threw a receipt at my face, and all the kids already knew I was like a military veteran. I had little patience for what was going on. I'm like a brand new civilian. So in slow motion, each one of their heads just turned to me to see the expression that was on my face as soon as the receipt hit my forehead before I lost my shit. Classic. All
right. So let's see. And my number one, since I now reversed it.
Oh, you can't reverse it already.
Okay, fine. Number 5, which is my scariest one.
That's coming up.
Got it. Okay, so the last one on my list of the movies that scared me when I was young still scares me to this day too. Alien. That movie messed with me so badly. Alien.
Fantastic.
It was one of the best things that Ridley Scott ever directed. Mm-hmm. And really it was amazing. From that point of view, it was so well done. To this day, it stands alone. and it's still one of the top science fiction films of all time. But as far as horror goes, just the knowing what this creature was, and it just, oh no, it goes beyond. I mean, it really messed with me completely. And the fact that Tom Skerritt dies, I'm still kind of upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Skerritt was like, I don't know, he was like the 70s, 80s heartthrob. Kind of like the same energy Kurt Russell had going. They all had the bushy salt and pepper hair, the scruffy, just that blue collar thing. He was cool as fuck. Great character.
He
I would
was.
see him come back. I thought Aliens was a little, maybe I'm biased because that's the first one I ever saw. And once again, we go back to my mother forcing me to watch all of these scary ass movies when I'm like 6 years old. And that was the one that
yeah, that one was scary too. But in my opinion, Aliens was more about establishing Ripley as you know, a hero, as opposed to in the other movie, she got lucky. You know, she outsmarted the being, but in this one, she was kicking ass. You know, so it was really cool to see that.
I think that I kind of agree and kind of disagree because I think she was still kicking ass in the second one. My mother,
no. In the second one is when she kicked ass. The first one,
yeah, she
was, she was avoiding the thing.
Her character arc was kind of similar to Linda Hamilton's in The Terminator. The first, she still had that femininity about her. She's walking around. Remember at the very end scene when she's in her panties, getting in the little cryo tube. Still kind of sexy, still kind of hot. By the second one, she was like this badass ironclad bitch. And which brings me back to my mom. My mom was an Air Force veteran. She was one of the very first dog handlers in the Vietnam era. She was a tough fucking bitch. She was like 5'2", if that. And one of the scariest women I've ever seen in my life. But she absolutely loved female characters in movies that were badasses. Like, I remember she would be sitting on the couch watching Aliens when I was a kid. And she would be yelling at the TV just like she was watching a football game. And every time Ripley said that iconic line, "Get away from her, you bitch," my mom just would jump up and clap and scream. She fucking loved that. I will always think of her anytime I watch an Aliens movie.
That's awesome. It really is.
All right. So what was your number 5 then? Or number 1?
That was whatever. The last one on my list.
My number 1 or my number 5, the last one on my list, or the first one. Okay. So I guess if we go back to like 1985, I remember my dad didn't come home from work one day. And my mom was super worried. The vibe around the house was really kind of concerning. And it turned out that my dad had snuck off to the electronics store after work and bought a VCR. And he came like at 8:30 at night with this brand new invention, the VCR.
Dun, dun, dun.
My mom was like, "Oh my God, I've been so worried about you all night." And then he had the VCR. It was a total dude move from the 80s.
Yeah, my dad did the same thing.
Immediately, he took us all to, I think, Safeway, because Safeway had like this little tiny row of rental videos or something like that. You know, back then, there really wasn't any rental stores. Some of the grocery stores had rental movies. And so the number one movie that scares me, I don't even have a name for it. But I remember my dad told me, he's like, "Hey, bud, go pick out some cartoons." So I was like, yay! So I'm running around these aisles, and I came face to face with this fucking Betamax box. And on it, it had like this dismembered lady with, she was dragging herself with one arm. She was missing an arm. She was covered in blood. She had like an eyeball hanging out of her skull. And I just saw that shit, and I had to have been 5. And I just thought that was the most scariest fucking thing I'd ever seen in my life. And it traumatized me coming face to face with this box. And, you know, Betamaxes were a little bit larger than VHS. So whatever that movie,
no, they weren't.
That scary lady all hacked up to pieces was, scared the fuck out of me when I was 5 years old. And even now, I will always think of that time in the video store when I came face to face with that shit and how bad it messed me up. It was like some Daffy Duck cartoons.
Okay, I can see where you would be extremely traumatized because I to this day I'm traumatized by a movie that I saw when I was maybe 4 years old, and all I remember was somebody finding a rock and bringing the rock home and putting it into an oil drum barrel full of water outside of their house. And dropping the rock there, and the rock became a monster of some sort. I have no idea what the movie was. I know for a fact that it was dubbed. I could tell because the way the mouth moves was not in Spanish. It was some other language. But I couldn't tell you if it was dubbed from English or dubbed from some other. It was black and white. That's all I remember. But seeing that monster, that made an impression. So I totally get where you're coming from. If that is the scariest thing.
I wish I could find the name of that movie so I could go back and just be like, hey, fuck you, movie. That shit's scary.
Oh, man. That's
that woman missing an arm, dragging her dismembered torso across a floor, stayed with me all of these years. All those years.
Wow. So it had to have been from the 80s or 70s, probably.
Had to have been 70s or 80s. So if this was 85, they were already producing movies on Betamax and VHS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it had to have been a newer movie because I'm sure they weren't very fast to go back and produce older movies on those. It had to have been, I'm guessing 80 to 85 is when it came out. The cover just had that dismembered woman missing an arm, an eyeball hanging out, covered in blood. No idea what it was. And I used to, for years, that same cover still haunted me at the video store because eventually Blockbusters came up and I would be like 8 or 9 walking around and then I would go eye to eye with that fucking movie cover because it would always be there. I'd always see it somewhere, no matter where it was. And eventually, when I was in the 90s, it went away. I never saw it again. But damn, that cover just scared the shit out of me.
You're going to sleep with the night light on, aren't you?
You know what? I might.
All right.
Emotional trauma.
I know. It must have been. So, okay. So now for the movies that we actually like to watch, the scary movies that we enjoy watching, which, coming from me, that says a lot because I'm not really into horror movies. I like suspense, but horror kind of like freaks me out a little. So, but there are a few that fall into both categories, and I enjoy them too.
What do you got going for your number 5?
My number 5, believe it or not, is Zombieland. I actually really enjoy that movie, and it is supposed to be a comedy. Yes, it's true, but there are elements of horror and elements of suspense in it. So I decided to actually put it into this genre for me. It is a very enjoyable movie, and of course, Bill Murray steals the show for me.
The Bill Murray sequence was so wonderful.
It was great
and so sad at the same time.
It was.
Let me ask you a question about Zombieland, though. Who can you picture wearing a snakeskin jacket and a cowboy hat killing zombies?
My co-host right now. I can picture you doing it.
So my after I started dating my girlfriend, one of the very first times that she took me out on a date was soon into our relationship, but when Zombieland 2 came out. And so we're sitting in the movie theater, and every time Woody Harrelson opens his mouth and says something, she just looks over at me like she sees what he's saying coming out of my mouth. There was the one particular scene. Remember when he had the and this is going to be a spoiler alert. I don't care. The movie's been out for like a year and a half already. So if you haven't seen it,
more than that.
So in the first Zombieland, his iconic phrase was what was it? Keep your no, he said that'll do, pig, which I thought was hilarious. So in the second one, he's departing from the little group he was in, and he said, "I'm not good at goodbyes, so keep your tits dry." I thought that was the funniest fucking thing in the entire world, and I said that for weeks.
Dude, you're gonna cry. Zombieland came out in 2009.
Oh my god! No, I'm talking about Zombieland 2, the second one.
The second one's been out.
About a year and a half.
See.
Maybe more.
I want to say no. It's more than that.
It was still when she took me to see it, and it was. God, we'd just only been dating about a month or two.
Oh goodness, I can't think. But the first movie came out in 2009. So
I need to get a snakeskin jacket.
You do. Oh, and it was last year. You're right, 2019. Actually, almost to the day last year.
Oh my God!
October 18th is when it premiered. So
coincidence? I think not.
I think not. Okay, so
the number 5 I've got on my list, I chose the Omen remake. I really liked the remake. I saw it in the theater. I dug it. I was really into it.
I need to watch it. I mean, I saw all of the first series, Omen, Omen 2, and then the third one with Neil, which really blew me away. I think that in the third one, the last scene when he finally gets pierced by the last knife and he's crawling, and you look up and you see the apparition that looks like Jesus. And he looks at it, says, "You've won nothing," and dies. And then Jesus rises because it's the second coming. And I'm like, I get goosebumps every single time when I see that. It's so cool.
I really like those movies. And I know you come from a really staunch Catholic background. And, me being Irish, coming from a Catholic background too. These kind of movies about like The Omen, The Exorcist, those really kind of hit close to home for Catholics.
They do. They resonate with us. Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because I was actually talking with my sister about a comedy, Dogma, which came out a few years ago. Yeah. And I remember that there was a big kerfuffle in Christian circles with this movie. And everybody was saying, "Oh, Catholics are going to hate it." No, we loved that movie. We thought it was hilarious. We laughed about it. We thought it was great.
My boss has a Buddy Jesus statue in his office.
That's awesome.
The Dogma was fantastic. George Carlin is that cardinal. Phenomenal.
Yes. It was great.
What's your
All right, let's see. Number 4 is a little sleeper that I saw a few years ago. And every so often it'll come back up and I'll watch it. And and it's really funny because not a lot of people went to see this movie. It's called Devil. It came out in 2010 or so. The elevator one. Yes.
That's a great, fantastic movie. Talk about a thriller for one.
It was intense. There was suspense and everything. And at the very end, when, after he confesses his crime and everything. I know. I should. Well, it's been out 10 years.
The fantastic. But that's one of those movies, kind of like The Usual Suspects, where you can't ruin Usual Suspects for somebody that's never seen it. So, Devil's a fantastic movie. Don't anymore, Aggie. Go rent it, folks.
Okay, I'm shutting up.
On edge of your seat thriller. Fantastic pick. Good job.
And number 4 for you?
I picked The Exorcist. I love The Exorcist. Huge fan of Father Merrin. I really like the story. I'm fascinated with the Catholicism involved with the exorcism rite, the Roman rituality. They re-added it to the Romani Rituali books. I want to say during the Polish guy, Ratzenberger, or whatever his name was.
No. You mean Pope John Paul II?
Pope John Paul re-added it? I thought he had omitted it during his papacy. But anyway, it was re-added to the Romani.
It could have been Benedict.
I thought it was during his. I can't remember. We'd have to fact check that. But anyway, the Roman Rite and Rituale books are like a series of 3 or 4 books that has every single prayer and governs every single thing that, it's like the handbook of the priesthood, basically. So I was fascinated when it was added back in after it had, because they kind of omitted it. It's like a government cover-up type thing, like, oh, no exorcisms going on over here. But then they added it, and I thought, oh, that's fucking cool. So anyway, I've always liked The Exorcist. I've always been fascinated with exorcism and all of that. I just think it's a cool fucking movie. Always loved it. What's your number 3?
I think we're going to go long tonight. Okay, so my number 3 is Fright Night, 1985. Not the 2011, even though the 2011 was actually really good. I prefer the one with Roddy McDowall because it was Roddy McDowall, that Peter Vincent character arc. He was just fantastic as the TV show host who actually believed in killing vampires. It's just great. Brewster. Charlie Brewster was in it, yes. I mean, that kid was just...
Marcy from Married with Children was his girlfriend, Amanda Burst.
And Amanda Bierce, yeah. And of course, Chris Sarandon playing Jerry the vampire was just awesome.
There wasn't a chick hot that was not hot for that guy in the 80s. They all wanted to be seduced. Like every woman that I ever saw watch that movie, when they get hot for Chris Sarandon seducing them, and Charlie Brewster was their boyfriend, like, you know what? That's a bitch ass move. That really opened some doors to female psyche for me, and that will come into play later in my life. Fantastic choice.
Okay, and your number 3?
My number 3 was Interview with a Vampire. I know that this is unpopular with the Anne Rice fans. It's my favorite movie from the Interview series. I know that Lestat wasn't all that, but I love the Tom Cruise Lestat. I can't help it. I think he's fucking awesome. I love Brad Pitt as Louis. I love Benicio del Toro in it. I love the whole movie. I saw it in the theater. I guess I was about 14, 15, something like that. I just thought it was really fucking cool. I was unfamiliar with Anne Rice at the time that I had seen it. I
was very familiar.
I wasn't. So I think why I like it versus why everybody does not like Interview.
Oh, I thought the movie. I'm not a fan of Tom Cruise, which is why it took me a long time to see it. But I thought they did a really good job of interpreting the book, and even Anne Rice said that Tom Cruise actually did a good job, even though the actual actor that she had in mind when she wrote the book, not even when they were casting, when she wrote it, was Rutger Hauer.
Really? That's surprising.
That's who she envisioned being Lestat. Yeah, that was her inspiration for Lestat, that look. So even though Tom Cruise didn't have the same look, he actually had the intensity, and she actually appreciated his performance very much.
I thought
it kind of quelled a lot of the critics that said, "Oh my God, Tom Cruise with a blonde wig! Oh my God, what are you doing?" But whatever. He's acting. Okay.
My favorite Lestat. I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan, but when he's got a movie that's fucking awesome, that movie is fucking awesome and legendary. Top Gun. I love Top Gun. Interview with a Vampire. Fucking great.
This is how you and I started talking. That Top Gun movie, which to this day I have never seen, and will die never having seen it.
When you come visit, we're gonna do like a live screening and record our reactions to Top Gun.
It's gonna be like Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Watch. Tell me you feel the need.
Alrighty. Okay.
What's your number 3? Or your number 2, rather?
My number 2 is a really cool movie. I cannot recommend this movie highly enough. And it's not one that a lot of people even know about, but when it came out, it made a big impact into the horror suspense genre, and it's Ghost Story. And it was very special because it was the only movie that Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, John Houseman, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. did together. And it was the last movie for three of them. So these are three Hollywood greats in the twilight years of their lives, and they make this fantastic movie. I cannot recommend it enough. It truly is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen.
What year did it come out? I'm trying to look it up on IMDb.
It came out in 1981, and it actually was the birth of the resurgence of the word awesome was credited to this film alone, because in one particular scene, the word is used, and it is so impactful that in the 80s, it took off from this movie. It really is. It's even credited in the Merriam-Webster, I believe. But basically, it's the story of these four men who gather together each year to tell ghost stories. But they share a secret. 50 years ago, this past spring, there was an incident, and they have lived with that their whole lives. And things start going awry during the 50th anniversary of this happening. And for those who have seen it, I'm pretty sure that there's been a lot of people that have seen this and not remember. They were responsible for the death of a young woman. And it was a woman who they all fell for. She was very vibrant. She was very charismatic. She was beautiful. She was very forward for the time. You know, this was back in 1920 something.
That'll be the water, the frozen water in a rock of friends. It's always the very forward ones that knock you off your socks, that say the worst perverse things, that catch you off guard. It's always those girls. So this sounds like one of those movies where a circle of friends that all have that dark past and secret. I like it already.
You should see it. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And every time it comes on, I stop everything. I literally turn off my phone. I make sure I don't answer anything. I'm like focused on the movie because it is so good. It really is.
Amazon Prime to see if I can find it. I want to watch it. It sounds pretty badass.
It is. It's really good.
I know we're going over considerably. I think we can get through the next two super fast. My number two. Motherfucking Fright Night. I loved this movie when I was a kid. Once again, this was one of the ones that I was forced to watch by my mother, who was obsessed with scary movies. This was the only one that I'm like, yeah, this shit's badass. These motherfuckers he's going to get with this old dude that's got the TV show. They're kicking this motherfucker's ass. He fucking was hitting on his girlfriend, and she was a bitch about it. I was a little upset. Never forgot that. But he got her back. It was cool. Evil was cool. Everybody was cool. Jerry Dandruff and his fucking apple. The eating of the apple. Iconic,
yes. Right?
Carl Brewster was perfect. Everything was perfect. I love that movie. And
you like what?
I even loved the remake. I mean,
it really was good.
But the remake was awesome in its own right because look, they got Colin what's his face? That Irish, total heartthrob is being Jerry Dandruff, and then Charlie Brewster. You don't like him?
Oh, he's good looking and everything. He's just not my type. He's too young for me.
Oh,
I'm 53, dude.
Kurt Russell.
I'm still with the Kurt Russell, Chris Sarandon fan club. Okay.
Okay. It was still cool, and it was in Vegas.
Yeah, no, it was a good movie. They actually did justice in the remake, so that was I was kind of leery that they wouldn't, but they did a good job.
Very concerned. In fact, that's one of my favorites. Ever since I was a kid, I loved it. I thought it was cool. It had a happy ending. It was, everybody got what was coming to them. And I'm like, fuck yeah, Ma, just made me watch that shit. Well, they got their asses handed to them. That's how I felt. What's your number one?
My number one, and this is another one that everybody has seen, is Psycho, 1960.
Oh, nice.
I love that movie. I think it was probably the best when it comes to suspense of all the movies ever done. Because even after she embezzles the $40,000, there's suspense involved. You're like sitting on the edge of your seat, when she's, she goes in to trade in her car and the cop is looking at her and all that stuff. And you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I must have watched this movie 100 times and still I'll be on the edge of my chair, on the edge of the couch, rather, watching it, wondering,
You're actually a huge Hitchcock fan.
I am.
Costume is Tibby and the Birds. Phenomenal. You were so adorable in that costume.
Wait until this year.
With the thriller and suspense movies.
Yeah, wait until this year's costume. It's going to be pretty funny.
My year's costume is non-existent because we're leaving town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're renting a cabin out in the up in the woods, Riadoso actually. My neighborhood does a huge Halloween thing every year, and that's one of the things that brought all the neighbors together. This year, we're so sad about the COVID bullshit that we can't do our grilling of the hamburgers and hot dogs. So we're just leaving. We're doing the Christmas with the cranks, but we're doing like Halloween with blowtorches.
Nice. I heartily approve. My sister's turning off all her lights, saying, "Fuck it, I'm not giving any candy away this year. I'm mad."
So did we just do your number one?
Yeah, Psycho. Psycho's my number one.
Wow. Let me tell you what about my short-term memory. I lost a belt for a week and just barely found it. So that's how I'm sitting. My number one, I picked a lovely classic starring Vincent Price entitled House on Haunted Hill. I watch it every Halloween. I think it is one of the
such a great movie.
Perfect horror movies ever done. It's got all of the things you ever could want, from like supernatural ghosts to skeletons walking around to an entire dinner party just being incredibly suspicious of themselves. Perfect recipe. Wonderful Halloween.
It is. It is. And that's on the list for us to watch whenever we get together. So put it in there too. Because if you're going to force me to watch Top Gun, I want to at least watch something fun.
Oh my God. We've got 3 more episodes left in October. And to include the 30th, which I'm not sure if I'll be here or not. But we've got 3 more Halloween themed episodes.
Yes. So that'll be fun. This whole month is going to be fun. Yay!
I'm looking forward to it, people. But we've graciously gone over our time period. And our producer, Lou, what's your favorite Halloween movie?
That's a tough one. I think my favorite Halloween movie is probably Halloween.
Ooh.
The first one, because it's probably the first real horror show that I saw in the movie theater when I was a kid. And I was pretty young. Like, I was too young to be there, but...
Sure.
Small town movie theater.
I totally relate to that.
Yeah, my small town movie theater, they didn't care. So, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our producer, Lou. We don't give her nearly enough props or credit. She's wonderful, and she keeps this show going for us. She's awesome.
Yeah, she is. I'm awesome. Thanks, guys.
You super awesome. And thank you for everything you do, Lou. We love you.
Appreciate it. I love you guys.
All right. Can you tell us where we can find you?
Me? Oh, you can find me.
Yeah, Lou too.
You were talking to Aggie.
Where can we find you, Lou?
Hey, while I'm here, let me plug my show on Monday night at 10 o'clock. It's all about cyber crime and stuff.
That's awesome. I haven't listened to it yet. I got to be honest. Mondays.
Oh, no, it's a very, very cool show. So
Wow,
I've
Mickey.
learned a lot. Believe me, I'm a tech noob, and I learned more in her show than I do anywhere else.
So I'm guessing it's kind of like a Kim Commando type thing, but probably way more awesome.
It's so
It's more
funny.
about
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that because, like, 4 episodes in, JC, you know, Federalist JC, actually described us as Kim Commando for people who actually already know how to set up a printer.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Pretty good.
That is perfect, yes.
I was flattered.
Lou, thank you so much for everything you do for the show. We need to give you props more often. We always forget about you because you're just kind of there in the background, and you know. But we love you to death. You really do an awesome job.
Mwah.
She's the best. She is the best.
And Aggie, where can we find you, ma'am?
Oh, you can find me at Twitter. My handle there is @AggieRican. I'm also at Aggie the Barkeep. That's the cocktail account, which I've kind of neglected this week because I kind of gave up drinking. Don't ask me. And so, no, not permanently. No. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight because this COVID thing kind of like made me hit the munchies a lot. So I need to get back. I need to get back to my weight. So, but you can also find me Tuesdays with my affable co-host, Brad Slager at Martini Shark. And you can find me, that's at 9 p.m. Eastern, doing A Pod Divided. And Fridays, right here, with my crazy co-host, Mickey Blowtorch, at 8:30, doing He Said, She Said.
I am a delight.
You are. You are. And where can we find you?
You guys can find me on the only piece of social media I will ever set foot on because it doesn't suck. Well, it kind of does, but it doesn't suck that bad. It does. Twitter.com at Mickey Blowtorch, just being fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Fridays here at 8:30.
Absolutely, with my lovely co-host. And with that, I ask all of you to be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, America.